Hey, what is up? Yelling and screaming. Sean, this board is pretty damn empty. NFL season is coming to an end.
I know, and it's a little bit sad, but also a little bit exciting. Sad because I no longer know what my Sundays are going to entail, um, but excited because now I get to actually have free Sundays. Uh, so for a little bit anyway. But yeah, living in Arizona especially, we got spring training coming up, and basketball season still going on, hockey season still going on. So I still got things to be excited about, but man, am I going to miss football?
Well, the UFL season's coming up.
You are correct. And I am
March
kind of
28th,
excited to
maybe.
see what it looks like. I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like.
It was good last year. It's not the NFL, but it's hard to be
Well,
the
with
NFL.
with the odd, well, of course, the NFL has so much money, but with the with some rule changes, obviously the swap of the kickoffs, and just the fact that it's a spring league that you're not competing with the NFL for ratings, I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be cool to watch. I would love to try to get out to some random games in places that I wouldn't think of.
I want to say the closest to us is Arlington. So Texas isn't too far.
No, it's a quick. I mean, you fly into how far is Arlington close to DFW?
Yeah,
DFW.
Arlington is like a suburb of Dallas.
All right, yeah, then that makes sense. I mean, I guess it
Arlington's
wouldn't
where
be
the
an issue.
Cowboys play.
Oh, that's true. Duh. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could fly into. Actually, like half the teams are in Texas, so yeah. Realistically, looking at this, I could fly into, Dallas, San Antonio. For all of those who don't know, Frontier Go Wild Pass is for all you broke boys who want to be able to travel but don't have the money to do it. Willy nilly. It gives you some nice cheap flights to some places, and yeah, I'm excited about using it to try and maybe hit some of these UFL spots.
Not a sponsor. Not a sponsor. They probably should
Nope,
sponsor us, but
nope. I would love
no
Frontier
dice.
Airlines needs to sponsor their own planes. Talking about sponsoring sponsoring us.
All right. Divisional round, NFL playoffs. We're down to the final 8 teams here. Everybody in play from here on out. The wild card games were okay. I didn't have my socks knocked off. The closest one was Commanders Bucks, and that one wasn't horribly exciting either. But I think at the end of it all, we kind of got the outcomes we expected. Maybe with the one exception being Vikings Rams. I know a lot of people were on the Vikings.
I honestly looked at that game and did feel like the Rams, they had what they needed in order to get past the Vikings. They used the blueprint that the Lions used the week before, and it worked like a charm. I think that once you figured out that the Vikings were essentially a team that needed to get momentum going, it was they were able to really do a good job of just like keeping them knocked down, and they got them to make a lot of turnovers too, which is a big deal. Your guy Jared Verse, your defensive rookie of the year, he was phenomenal in that game. And just watching how methodical that team was, they controlled the clock. They made sure that they never let the Lions get any real, or not sorry, the Vikings get any real momentum. And they controlled the line. They did not get very much rushing yards. I mean, I think they technically ended with like just over 100 rushing yards, but it wasn't like it was anything. It wasn't really a contributing factor to this game. So definitely saw that. That game went the way that I would have expected to see with a healthy Rams team.
The NFL is pretty random, pretty good parity, but you see patterns in all these data points. There's so many data points, and in a little
Mhm.
quirk in the data, Vikings lost 4 games this year, and they lost to the Lions, followed the next week with a loss to the Rams,
Mhm.
and then lost to the Lions, followed by the next loss to the Rams. So just a really interesting piece of data there. It means nothing, obviously, but just
There,
strange how the universe works
don't
sometimes.
don't worry. The NFL will make a point either at the end of this, like sometime in the offseason or all of next season, that the Vikings only losses last season were to the same two teams in consecutive weeks, and they're the first team since 1647 to
Yeah.
lose to the exact same team 2 weeks in a row to 2 weeks in a row. I'm like, yeah, the NFL will come up with some random statistic. I just saw something today
Always
that
do.
I want to mention. I actually want to mention something when we talk about one of the other games that just, of course, love when they talk about the sports statistics. It's always great.
Eagles beat the Packers. Sean, we've not really shied away. At least I haven't on this show. I won't drag you down with me. Jordan Love sucks. He is really bad at football and proved it all year long with a just final 20 for 33, 212 yards, 3 picks, and they were bad picks. They're at bad times. They looked not great. Josh Jacobs can only do so much. These wide receivers are not NFL wide receivers, and Jordan Love is not an NFL quarterback.
Well, I will give you that the wide receivers aren't very great, and losing your safety net and Christian Watson did not help. So yeah, he was not ready. He was also coming off of an injury. I really think that Jordan Love wasn't 100%. But I always had an issue with Jordan Love throwing off his back foot to begin with. So watching that Eagles secondary kind of hold him in check, pick him apart, really not let him do anything. And then Saquon just ripping it off. I mean, we watched him in this game, and 119 yards on 23 carries or something of the sort. Once you saw the Eagles get up, it was kind of expected that they were just going to kind of roll with them. The offensive line is too good. And when your number one wide receiver is on the bench reading the book, and people are talking about that more than they're talking about anything else in that game, which, I mean, realistically, Jalen Hurts didn't have to do too much. He really he didn't have to be great. He just had to play consistent football. I mean, he was almost 70% completion percentage. He threw for 2 touchdowns, and he didn't have any turnovers.
They didn't look great. They did enough to win. Didn't make mistakes, but outside of Saquon, like, these are real pedestrian numbers pretty much across the board. So I don't know what that means. We'll get to their game coming up here in a minute, but I wouldn't feel too great.
The only reason why I don't feel that way is because the Packers, for however much shit we want to give them, they were an 11-5 team or 11-16 through the season, right? They won games. They played better defense than we expected them to play in, some situations. And when a team is up, their game plan changes. The Eagles are up. Absolutely. The game plan is very different than when they have to throw the ball. So playing this week against a Rams team that's going to have a better defense, going to have a healthy offense, and has a quarterback who has played, who's won a championship, who has played played in the playoffs, and has, had some success. But more importantly, he's got a pedigree of being a very good quarterback. That's going to be a very different game with them playing against the Rams this week than it was against the Packers. So as much as I want to shit on Jordan Love, there's some extenuating factors that really the totality of why he did not perform well in this game. The 3 picks, you can't give the ball away. You really can't. But the Eagles also have one of the best secondaries, if not the best secondary in the NFL.
Fair. Steelers Ravens. I did not watch this one. The one thing I will say, just box score watching, is Lamar didn't do anything to help himself for the MVP, which is unfortunate because I've really enjoyed the way he plays. But when Derrick Henry has almost 200 yards rushing, you don't really have to do a whole hell of a lot.
You're not wrong on that, but I will say this. Lamar was 16 for 21. He was accurate. He had 1 sack, but he threw for 2 touchdown passes in that 175. Mm-hmm. So, realistically, his passer rating was what? One.
Couldn't even tell you. That math on that is that you need an advanced degree to do the math for.
His passer rating was 132. 132 is pretty fucking good. I mean, realistic, he was a 76% completion percentage and, 2 touchdown passes. I'm not disregarding the yardage itself. He's had multiple games this season where he had under 200 yards passing, but in those games, he still had phenomenal passer ratings. I mean, Houston game 31-2, he only threw for 168 yards. The Pittsburgh game, the Pittsburgh game a couple weeks ago, he only threw for 207 yards. But in those games, he had 5 total touchdowns to 1 pick. So, in games where Lamar is not throwing for a lot of yards, he's throwing accurately, and he's not making mistakes. He keeps the ball going down the field. When you have arguably the best running back in the NFL, which Saquon I think is more dynamic than Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry is incredible. He's an incredible runner, and when you have that guy in your backfield, it definitely opens things up for you to be able to do some other things. But you got to still be a good quarterback at the end of the day. You can't make mistakes, and not only did he not make mistakes, but he was good in this instance. So I would still argue that he's still my guy for MVP. It's just
81,
this week is going to be
81 rushing yards. Ravens outrushed the Steelers 299 to 29. Time of possession was damn near 40-20. This was an ass whooping. The fact was. That the score got as close as it did late, Steelers had a third quarter where Russell Wilson started chucking the ball because they're chasing, and put points on the board, but this was not a 2-touchdown game. This was an ass whooping.
It absolutely was a true dismantling. And the one thing that I want to say is Pickens had his best game for me in the past couple of weeks. As far as what Russ was able to get the ball to him last week, terrible, just nothing. He wasn't able to touch he had one reception on 6 or 7 targets. This week, 5 receptions and a touchdown, 36-yard catch. When Russ was trying to get the ball to him, he was catching it. He was able to get that coming out of this game, looking at the future of the Steelers, I think that's a good sign. But you're absolutely correct. Russ realistically was getting guys the ball. Granted, it was a little too late, but he was getting guys the ball. 20 for 29 is good, and 2 touchdowns and no picks. It wasn't like he played poorly. It's just when your run game's not doing anything, and the other team's got time of possession to controlling the clock, controlling the game. You're SOL. So I think that they have some things. Pittsburgh's got some things next year to look at. Got some things to look forward to. Definitely a better season than what some people had predicted they would have, especially with those 2 quarterbacks. So
I think they need a running back. I'm not convinced Najee Harris is it. He ends up with over 1,000 yards for the season, but you can't have 15 carries for 40 yards in 4 different games. It's just you're not going to win like that.
Realistically, Pittsburgh lost the last 5 games in a row, including this playoff game. And in those games, the most Najee Harris had was against Kansas City, which was 74. Other than that, 14, 36, 42. Not going to do it. You can't play against playoff caliber teams and put up low numbers, especially as the number 1 running back. Trying to get Jaylen Warren in there and figure out how he can fit into that was just wasn't enough. So realistically, yes, I think they definitely do need a running back. I think that they were hoping for Najee Harris to be the guy, and then they were like, well, maybe running back by committee, because Najee Harris had 1,000 rushing yards, and Jaylen Warren had 500 rushing yards. So that's a 1,500-yard season for a running back, which isn't bad. That's a solid team in the NFL. But for the division that they're in, you're going to need more firepower. You're going to need to be able to do more and be able to control the clock a lot more.
Commanders Bucks, this was the closest game. It wasn't horrifically exciting. They were kind of just going back and forth the whole game. Not the fireworks that I expected from the Bucks. They went a little conservative with their play calling. It was working. You lose on a last-second field goal. They executed, I think, the way they wanted to. Jaden Daniels threw 35 times. He went out there and he won the game for them. Led them in rushing. The kid's really, really good. I'm just not sure why the Bucks didn't try to take advantage on the backside of the Commanders more often. But a solid game, a good game. I'm not unhappy with the result.
Yeah, honestly, both of these teams are probably they were the two teams that were probably the best, most evenly matched teams, I would say, in this playoff. And realistically, a 20-23 game, it's a tight game. If you look, there was a score in every quarter. With Tampa Bay getting that score and getting the score in the first quarter. And at the end of the day, if you're Tampa Bay, you still got things to look forward to. Bucky Irving didn't have a terrible game. Overall, they rushed for about 100 yards. Baker Mayfield was so accurate in this game, but it just wasn't enough. They needed a little more every once in a while on a couple of these. You were absolutely correct. It definitely didn't feel like they were getting the ball down the field. I mean, his longest pass was he had one pass that was 26 yards. That's not going to do it, especially in a playoff game. But they got some things to look forward to. And I would say that the Commanders are really, really excited. Oh, this is the one that I want to tell you about. So I just saw something somewhere, an article that said that Jaden Daniels has the first playoff win for the Commanders in 7,000 days. And I thought, who the heck decided to measure it in days?
I mean, it is a stark number, isn't it?
But why? That's the whole point. Is why days, though?
That's like 20 years.
It's a long time.
It's
19 years. Yeah, almost 20 years. Yeah. Which is ridiculous. But
who did that even been? 2004? So like Aaron Brooks?
Clinton Portis, maybe? 04 Commanders.
04 Skins was Mark Brunell with Tim Hasselbeck behind him.
Oh, good Lord.
Yikes. Yikes. Rock
hilarious.
Cartwright on that team. Liddell Betts.
Antonio
Brown. Wow.
20 years ago? That's crazy.
Yeah, the original AB. Kick returner AB. Chris Cooley, that tight end on that team.
Yeah, that was so damn long ago. So long ago.
Insane. That's insane. Fred Smoot and Sean Taylor in the defensive backfield on that team.
R.I.P. Sean Taylor.
One of the greatest to do it.
Absolute beast.
Broncos Bills. Broncos started hot, man. I was excited. I'm like, ooh, we're in for this. Bo Nix, Super Bowl or bust. We're gonna get it done. And then the Bills defense settled in, and the offense did their job. Nothing too crazy. Cook goes over 100. Josh Allen throws well, but it was just death by 1,000 cuts. The Broncos defense was doing their job and just couldn't hang on, and then they couldn't get anything going on offense at all for the Broncos.
I expected this to be the case. Sorry, but just looking at those teams, how they're put together, if the Broncos defense doesn't allow them to have a lot of play clock, they don't have what it takes. They're not a firepower team. I mean, realistically, again, trying to remember who their running back was or who their wide receivers were. I know who Cortland Sutton is. I know who Marvin Mims is. I don't know who anybody else is. And realistically, when your running back is Bo Nix, you have a problem. That's not going to fly against a real playoff pedigree team. By the way, 79 to 210. That was the split for rushing. And Josh Allen throwing for 272, 2 sacks, but realistically, 272, 20 for 26. Like, that is an accurate game that he threw. And more importantly, no mistakes, no picks. So, I mean, when you look at these, like, Bo Nix didn't make any mistakes either, but you have to do more when you don't have the firepower, when you don't necessarily have those receivers, when you don't have that type of pedigree on your team. And they just didn't have it. The game definitely got away from them. You're not wrong. 31-7 feels about what I expected the score to be. I definitely expected it to be a blowout game. So yeah.
Well, and if you look at the box score, there's only one thing you need to look at. Nothing matters. The score, Josh Allen, the Broncos, nothing matters. Here's the only stat that matters that tells you the entire game. Mitchell Trubisky, 3 carries, -3 yards. They brought the backup quarterback in a playoff game to kneel the game away.
To nail it down. Yep.
That's all you need to know.
Yep. Mitchell Trubisky. Oh, goodness.
Chargers, Texans at times felt very exciting. And then in the span of about 4 minutes of game time, maybe 15 minutes of real time,
it got
it just, 32-12, I believe, was a scoregami. I don't think I've ever seen a 32-12 game before. But I'm glad that Justin Herbert and his 4 interceptions gets go down in history. I mean, this is the Chargers. They outplayed my expectations for them all year. This was always waiting there. I am shocked that it happened against a Texans team who really didn't look good on offense. You know, Mixon gets over 100 yards, kind of waxing the game away, but Stroud didn't look great for large portions of this game. So I'm kind of shocked that the Chargers finally played their worst game at the time when the Texans defense showed up for the first time in 10 weeks.
Not just that, but the Texans offensive line did their best job this game, hands down. They have not been a team that has. I've been talking about this all season. It's been their Achilles heel. But CJ Stroud, they got 3 sacks on CJ Stroud, but they really didn't change very much. They didn't change the outcome of the game. Mixing with 106, I mean, you can't control the offensive line, then you're going to have a problem. And you know, here's your running backs. Here's your outgaining 50 to 168. I think it's been pretty consistent across these first round of playoff games that if you can't run the ball, you got a problem. You're not going to be able to do anything if you can't run the ball. And you know, when you are able to run the ball and able to control the clock and able to keep, you know, momentum and drives going, then it really deflates the other team. Chargers spent a lot of time with their defense on the field. And even when they scored, they end up giving up they end up getting the blocked and it goes the other direction. It's like they can't win for losing. So I mean, I was as an AFC West team fan, I am a Raiders fan. Anytime any team in that division loses, I usually laugh. I get a little bit excited about it. But I've liked CJ Stroud. I've liked his game. I've liked the youth and what the Texans have decided to do overall with that offense. So to see them actually come away with a playoff win here was pretty cool. Do I expect it to carry over to the next round? Not so much.
Well, I mean, let's jump straight into it. Texans Chiefs is the first game of the weekend, and yeah, I mean, I think you said it. They're not gonna get lucky with a whole bunch of turnovers and blocked extra points and forced throws into double coverage. They get tipped and pick six. Patrick Mahomes is going to feast on this Texans secondary, especially if they're still high on the hog from beating up on Herbert. If they're feeling themselves at all, they're going to get exposed.
They're also going to have to play in Kansas City in mid to late January. They're going to have to deal with arguably I would say the best performing defense this year. One of the best defensive linemen. They are going to really be struggling there, I think, on that D line. And more importantly, the Chiefs' offense is one that can just cycle in bodies to be able to do what they need to do. So I don't even, now they've had a couple weeks to get people healthy. They had 2 weeks off. They're coming in hella fresh. Maybe that's an Achilles heel for them at the beginning of the game, but watch the late third, early fourth quarter if the game is even close to being tight. Watch the trigger just click and the Chiefs' offense start moving. And once that happens, Texans will be done. So if the Texans decided to somehow upset the Chiefs here, it would be arguably the greatest upset, at least in the last 5-10 years. I think so. If the Texans upset the Chiefs here, it would be the greatest upset in the last 10 years.
I am going to undercut the goodwill I'm attempting to garner for myself by stating that I am not going to talk about Patrick Mahomes' kids' names.
Oh, God. Oh, you don't like the metal names?
Don't
You
make me
don't
do
like the
this.
precious
Don't make
metal
me do
names?
this. I didn't know his son was nicknamed Bronze because he's the
Bronze? Yeah,
third.
because Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
Why wouldn't your first kid be gold? I don't. And then they have the dogs are named like Steel and
Steel
Silver.
and
And
silver,
like,
yeah. Well, so steel and silver came first. The dogs were first, and then they had kids and started naming the kids. Also, Brittany Mahomes went from just like being regular to like being pregnant in like 5 seconds, bro. Like, what the fuck? When happened?
they're rich. They're rich, man. Rich people do weird shit. Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. I'll lay those points all day long.
Yeah, I can see that. Texans would have to really, really play their best game of the season. Have to play lights out in order to beat this Chiefs team.
Commanders Lions. This is another one that could get out of hand. Lions are 9.5-point favorites. Obviously got some rest. I haven't seen an injury report to know if they did any good with that rest, but I have to imagine it couldn't have hurt them. Commanders have to come play in the dome. I think that's more of an equalizer. I don't know how much the noise really factors in with the headsets and the helmets these days, but yeah, it's just it's all the factors, right? Lions get a little bit healthier. Lions are at home. Commanders have to play on turf they're not used to, and then oh yeah, the Lions are one of the best teams in football, and it's not particularly close to the level the Commanders are playing at. I like the Lions here, but I think this could be really high scoring.
Well, David Johnson's back. Dave Montgomery's back. Sorry.
There you go. That's
So
huge.
yeah. Him and Gibbs both off. Both of them being fresh. That's gonna play dividends for them. I think that having both of those guys right now, only Zeitler is out. He's the only starter of their offense that's out. And he's phenomenal, but their offensive line is still incredibly good even without him. And on defense, they got no starters out. They have a bunch of guys who are third and fourth string. Well, I guess technically Aiden Hutchinson's still out. Neil, Pecco, Wingo. They have a couple of guys here that are out, but I think their defense is already kind of grown accustomed to playing without them. I think realistically, the Commanders don't have as powerful of an offense to be able to keep up with the Lions. The Lions play 4 quarters of football, and you can expect them to score 21 points in the fourth quarter. They can put up 21 points in the fourth quarter. So the Commanders even if the Commanders are up early, there's no reason for them to panic. They're just going to keep playing and wearing them down. So I still expect the Lions to win, and I do expect the Lions to win big. But I'd actually say that I think the Lions line should be lower than the Chiefs line. I think the Chiefs are I guess the only difference is the Lions score more points, but they also give up significantly more points. So
I loaded these this morning. Lions are currently 9. Chiefs are 8.5.
yeah. Still, I mean, Chiefs aren't expected to score a bunch of points, but expected to win. They're going to score under 30 probably. Lions are probably going to score 50, but give up 30.
Yeah.
So
Rams Eagles, I think, is the one I'm most excited for. Not my game of the week, but I think this is the game I'm most excited to watch because I think these are the two teams I know the least about as it pertains to how they're going to play this week. We've seen them both show up in big spots and disappoint in big spots and play great games and off games. And I think the big thing for me is the Rams are hot. The Rams are getting hot at the right time. They have veteran leadership on both sides of the ball. People whining about Cooper Kupp kind of falling off, but like if you have one heavy volume guy, like you don't need another one. So
you can't have two guys with 10 receptions a game.
But I am excited to see how the Rams' second and third and fourth receivers do against a really good Eagles secondary, because I think that might be what determines this game.
I can agree with that. I think it's going to come down to which team's secondary plays better. I think also it's going to come down to the control on the line. The Eagles typically control the line of every game. You watch the Lions destroy a team by controlling the line. Or not the Lions, sorry, the Rams. I think that the Rams are going to definitely have to keep the Eagles pass rushers at bay. That's going to be a challenge for them, especially with that rotation. But on the same token, the Rams offense has really started to click, and having those receivers healthy is definitely a plus. Kyron Williams is still nothing to sneeze at as a running back. We all know what Saquon brings to the table. We all know about the tush push. So we know that if it's a 1 yard game, or if it comes down to a game of inches, the Eagles will win the game. The Lions need to get up. They need to get out, and they need to basically put the Eagles in a situation where Jalen Hurts is forced to pass and be pass heavy. Because I don't necessarily have to. I'm not going to call him a game manager, but his goal is to not make mistakes. Allow the game to come to you and play the game that your team is most likely going to win. And the Eagles are best in games where they control the line, where they control the clock, let Saquon do his thing, and Jalen just doesn't make mistakes. I mean, they have 3 very good receivers on that team. Dallas Goedert is a very good receiver, and Dotson's their number 3. So it's not like they have any issues at receiver, and all those guys are healthy now, and apparently pretty rested as they get to sit and read books on the sideline. So I don't see any reason why Philadelphia would have any concerns in this game, and playing at home against a Philly crowd in the cold in Philadelphia versus, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Rams did just come from playing in LA, playing what in LA?
Phoenix,
Phoenix, because the fire is in LA. That's right. So they played in a temperate dome as opposed to playing outside in the cold in Philly. That's going to affect your game, and Philly's going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to establish that run nice and early, get Saquon moving, get that offensive line moving, force the Rams to have guys shifting side to side and keep their coverage guessing, and then they'll play action and they'll do something cute with that. But realistically, Philadelphia should win this game at home as a healthy team right now.
I think I can say it. Game of the week, Ravens Bills.
Yes, 100%. It's arguably the game for who's MVP.
I would totally agree with that. Ravens are road favorites in this game.
Yeah, -1 on the road, which is wild. But yeah, it's wild. But given how their defense, I would say, is better than the Bills' defense. The Bills' defense gives up way too many yards, or makes too many points. But their defense is better. The problem with the Ravens is that they make mistakes way more frequently. They've covered that up later in the season. But realistically, earlier on in the season, especially, the Ravens had some losses, and you're like, what? How did you lose this game? Mistakes. The Ravens can't make mistakes. Lamar's got to control the ball. They just cannot put the ball on the ground. He can't put the ball in the other team's hands. They do that, they win. Tucker can't miss field goals either.
Man, if this huge game, if this MVP showdown comes down to kickers missing kicks, I'm gonna lose my mind. I want this to be settled on the field between these damn quarterbacks. Let them go out there and prove it.
40-41.
I mean, this is huge. It's so cool to get a game like this in the divisional, right? Like, one of these teams has to lose.
Facts.
And like, your gift, you win, you beat the hell out of each other, and your gift is to go to Kansas City.
I mean,
like, insane. I really have enjoyed the top of the AFC the Chiefs seasons, right? I mean, since Mahomes been hot, like, the AFC is the best it's been since like the friggin' Broncos in like 98 to 2000. Like, I know the Patriots, right? But like 1 through 6, like, the AFC is stacked. These are good teams. It's been really fun to watch the football. So yeah, Ravens, Bills, sign me up. I think the Bills in the snow and the cold and the crazy fans busting through tables and shit. But I mean, I wouldn't bet anything substantial on it. I'm really excited for this one.
I can agree. I think the AFC did a really good job this year of just proving that it's a very, very strong conference. I don't want to sleep on the NFC, though. I mean, the worst team in the NFC to make the playoffs was the Bucks. maybe.
Yeah, Bucks or Rams, but
But I can't say the Rams because they've been hot. They've been hot. I would say probably the Bucks are the worst team to make the playoffs. Um, in the AFC side, the Broncos were not necessarily to sneeze at. Some things happened during the season that allowed them to be in that position to make the playoffs. But like, I think that it's a really good sign that you're seeing more parity in the NFL, especially not just the top 2 or 3 teams in each conference being the only people who can win games. Having 4 or 5 teams in the top of any conference that can fight for a number 1 spot, having the last game of the season be the deciding factor as to who wins divisions in the NFC, that's what we want to see. That's what we like to see in football. So I'm excited. I think this game is definitely my game of the week. Winner of this game shoots themselves to the top of the board for MVP. I would say realistically, the Lamar's downfall is the fact that he has more losses to worse teams than Josh Allen does, as far as MVP goes. Losing to the Raiders is never going to be it's never going to get you anywhere.
It's not a great look for sure. It's not really what you want.
It's not. But at the end of the day, he put up good numbers against good teams and great numbers against plenty of other teams. So I can't really knock him on any of those things. At the end of the day, you just got to look at the totality of the work that they did.
I think, like, for me, I just keep coming back to, like, I want this game to be meaningful. I want it to mean something, right? And yes, the MVP's voted on by the friggin' AP and yada, 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 whatever. But it very much feels Super Bowl-esque, right? Like, this game is for more than this game. And I like that. I like it as a nightcap for the weekend. I like it for these fan bases who have go turn out and just do their thing, and it's fun. It's fun.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. At the end of the day, this is what we're here for. Every team plays a 17-game season, 18-week, 17-game season for a chance to put themselves in position to be here to play for their fans, to play in front of their fans, or in this case, other fans if you can't play in your own city. Shout out to LA. Hey, realistically, shout out to LA. Trying to, I hope that the fire settled down. A lot of people losing homes. A lot going on there, and that's the reason why the game got moved this past week to Arizona. Shout out to the Cardinals for doing whatever they can to make this as easy of a transition over, making sure everything was ready for the game. At the end of the day, we do what we can. Field looked phenomenal.
They painted it up. They painted it up for the Rams and the Vikings. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they did a really good job on shorter notice of getting everything together and making it really, really good experience. And at the end of the day, that's what we can hope for, is that every week we're able to just come out and watch football and just enjoy ourselves as fans. And for the players, that's their job, but they also, they get to enjoy themselves as well on the field. So I'm a little sad about the fact that football season is about to end.
Any coaching stuff you wanted to touch on? I think we'll do a coaching show. We got to get scheduled. This is most likely our last show of the season here. We'll transition in like off-season mode and bring you guys some other stuff. But is there any coaching stuff you wanted to talk about, Sean? Just real high level or specifics?
The fact that the Cowboys fired their coach the week after everybody else fired their coach is just a very, very normal Cowboys thing to do. And the people who I see who are the prospects that they're talking about, bro, you can't have Bill Belichick. He already has another job. Bro, you can't have
Interesting on that. Bill Belichick has not signed his contract. So he does not have to pay a $10 million buyout, technically.
I would be very, very angry if Bill Belichick went to the Cowboys as their head coach. There's so many other people who deserve the opportunity to be a head coach of an NFL team. Dude was head coach for like 20 years, like had a great career, decided that he was done and moved on. Like, let him do that. Don't bring him back in. There's plenty of other guys who are up and coming, some OCs that could be head coaches, some DCs that could be head coaches, some guys who should still have jobs, but they lost their jobs because they were only there for one season and expected to be fucking superheroes. At the end of the day, like, There's a lot of football that still needs to be played. Let that man go be in college. If he turns North Carolina around, then so be it. But like, let him be. Let him be. Go find somebody else to be your head coach. Stop looking for the same damn people.
Sean, do I want to do my serious rant or my funny rant?
Let's go with the funny rant.
The funny rant. Okay. Cowboys. We'll stay on the theme with the Cowboys. There is one coach who is the perfect coach for the Dallas Cowboys. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Number one reason is that the Cowboys and their fans have a long history now of winning the regular season and then losing in the first round of the playoffs. There is one coach that people keep talking about who fits that profile to a T. And that would be the coach who is 0-4 in bowl games in his coaching career, has never had a team ready for what he calls playoff games. Deion Sanders, come on down. Dallas Cowboys, baby. He fits the vibe. He fits the persona. He fits what they look for from an experience and skill set standpoint. He fits the culture of the team wonderfully. The Cowboys need a quarterback, and his son can fill right in and do just as good as Dak. Deion Sanders to the Cowboys would make me so happy. So happy. And the expectations couldn't be lower from the fan base. So I think it's a perfect fit. And it takes them off the board so I don't have to hear about it any goddamn more.
You are not wrong about a fair amount of things in what you just said. However, they also make me angry. All right. Deion Sanders is what the Cowboys would need. The problem is that he has to mold the young minds of grown fucking men. The Cowboys organization is a D. Right now, they act like they're a D2 college. Like, I don't understand what's going on. I mean, they're almost as bad with their ownership and making decisions as the Jets. Like, that's how bad it is. But I will say this. If Deion Sanders and Shadur Sanders both went to the Cowboys, I would be so angry. I would be so angry.
Well, and I hope there's not real football fans still listening to us 42 minutes into this show. I understand that Shadur Sanders is going to be overdrafted and the Cowboys won't have a shot at him. I get it.
Hey, you don't know. You don't know.
He's going to be the Giants' problem.
We got combine going on. We got. There's plenty of instances for people, plenty of trades for draft picks and stuff that could happen. You never know.
I can see him in that navy blue Giants helmet with a dark black visor, handing off the ball to somebody you've never fucking heard of before.
Facts. Handing off to was it Tracy's the running back there now?
Yeah. And he's okay.
Yeah.
All right. All jokes aside, that the Giants have some pieces. I don't think they're a Shadur Sanders away from playing the Lions in the NFC Championship game.
No. Absolutely not. They got some pieces. Every team in the NFL has pieces, but they need a lot more pieces. And more importantly, they need to keep those pieces together, have them function together, function well. Getting rid of your quarterback after talking all that shit about how your running back wasn't good enough means that you now have to fill in both those positions. Right now, the receiver core realistically is maybe 1.5 guys. If you count Ingram at tight end, is he still even there?
I'm not sure.
Malik Neighbors is your saving grace at wide receiver. He did do. I think he's definitely a good guy on that offense. They got a lot of pieces on defense they need to fix too.
Oh, and great job by Danny Dimes' agent picking the Vikings to be his ticket to the Super Bowl. Good job.
Oh, my goodness.
The NFL's crazy sometimes.
The NFL is crazy. But you know what? We watch it every week and we love it.
If you have not yet played our game, Chain Link, all 4 of these playoff games will be up and featured on the board. Even the Lions game. We know they're going to win, but all the games will be up there. Get in, play for free, make your picks. You can go 4-0 on NFL. You know what? If you go 4-0 on your NFL picks this weekend, send it to me. I will give you a free entry to Fantasy Bachelor on the Rose League, which is one of our other apps. If you've never played daily fantasy sports, It works like that. You pick 4 girls and you get points when they swear and kiss and fight each other, get roses, and it resets every week. Play against your friends. That is an awesome way to enjoy a watch party for Bachelor that you do or do not want to be at. It's a real good way to distract yourself from the fact that you were watching The Bachelor.
Oh, good Lord.
I think that's all I got. Sean, you got anything else?
That's all I got for this week, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure all season. Yeah, I'm excited to see how the show is going to be in the off season and kind of do some fun shows in there. Throw some more, throw some more background content, some other things, other segments that we really haven't had a chance to talk about that we wanted to touch on. So yeah, it'll be a fun off season.
Yeah, watch the socials, watch the channel. Once we get like an idea of a loose schedule, I'll post a short with the schedule. So if you only follow us on YouTube, you'll see it there. Otherwise, just keep an eye out. You never know. We might just do some hot off the presses, just real quick shows. We'll figure it out.
Sometimes you got to pop out.
It's true. I am King Lakemore everywhere you can find me.
At KS Flash.
This is Yelling and Screaming. Thanks for an awesome season, guys, and you'll see more of us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Take care, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Peace out. Have a good one.